1909 United States dollar coin featuring women's rights leader Susan B. Anthony marked a turning point in American coinage, arriving with enormous expectations and carrying a legacy that stretched far beyond its face value. For the first time in United States history, a real American woman rather than a symbolic figure appeared on a circulating coin, honoring the fearless activist whose relentless campaign for women's voting rights transformed the nation's future. Designed by Frank Gasparo, the obverse presents Anthony's determined portrait, surrounded by the familiar inscriptions that collectors recognize instantly, while the reverse continues the dramatic Apollo 11-inspired eagle landing on the moon design first introduced on the Eisenhower dollar. Although millions were struck, few people realized that this small dollar would quickly become one of the most misunderstood coins in modern American history, creating a fascinating story that still captures collectors decades later. The excitement surrounding its release was unlike almost anything seen for a modern circulating dollar. Government officials hoped Americans would embrace a lighter and more practical dollar coin for everyday commerce, replacing the bulky Eisenhower dollar that many found inconvenient. Instead, the coin's diameter proved surprisingly close to that of the quarter, leading to widespread confusion in cash registers, vending machines, and pockets across the country. Consumers often mistook one for the other, causing frustration that dramatically reduced public acceptance. As banks accumulated unwanted supplies and many coins sat untouched in vaults for years, an unexpected twist unfolded. What many considered a commercial disappointment gradually became an intriguing collectible, proving that history often rewards coins that once seemed destined to be forgotten. At first glance, the Susan B. Anthony dollar appears simple, yet every surface contains details that experienced collectors carefully examine. The copper-nickel-clad composition produces a silvery appearance rather than the golden color many later dollar coins display. 11-sided inner border details, sharp lettering, the portrait's flowing hair strands, the eagle's feathers, and the lunar surface on the reverse all reveal how well a particular coin was struck. Coins with blazing mint luster, smooth untouched fields, and crisp high points immediately stand apart from heavily circulated examples. Even subtle differences in brilliance, strike sharpness, and preservation can dramatically influence collector demand, making close inspection an essential part of every serious search. Among the most exciting aspects of the 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar are the varieties and mint errors that continue to surprise collectors. Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco each contributed to production, but specialists pay especially close attention to proof varieties, mint mark styles, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, broad strikes, and dramatic doubled elements. One of the most famous collectible distinctions involves the different wide rim and narrow rim obverse designs, where the spacing between the date and the rim can significantly affect desirability. Tiny manufacturing differences that once escaped notice now inspire careful study, reminding collectors that remarkable discoveries sometimes hide in plain sight. As the search becomes more exciting, imagination naturally begins to picture extraordinary possibilities, but every discovery deserves careful evaluation rather than instant celebration. A common circulated example may be worth only face value, while an unusually preserved coin or a genuinely scarce variety can attract serious collector attention. Illustrative market outcomes sometimes range from approximately $2,500 to $3,500 for certain minor but desirable variations, around $5,000 for exceptional high-grade examples, about $6,000 for unusual mint anomalies, and nearly $7,500 for rare collector pieces that combine scarcity with outstanding preservation. These figures represent possible auction-style scenarios rather than guarantees, yet they reveal why so many enthusiasts continue examining every Susan B. Anthony dollar they encounter. The suspense grows even stronger when exceptionally preserved coins or remarkable varieties appear before experienced grading specialists. Under the right circumstances, illustrative values around $8,000 may be discussed for uncommon examples displaying extraordinary preservation, while unusual finds enjoying intense collector demand have occasionally inspired conversations approaching $8,500. The most extraordinary or historically significant pieces can sometimes be imagined reaching as much as $9,000 in exceptional circumstances, particularly when rarity, quality, and collector competition converge. These numbers are examples rather than promises, but they illustrate how an ordinary-looking dollar could, under the right conditions, resemble a down payment on a home or feel like a sudden financial windfall discovered inside an old drawer. Stories shared throughout the collecting community often begin with the simplest moments imaginable. Someone empties an inherited coin jar, opens a forgotten safety deposit box, sorts through a relative's dresser, or receives ordinary change after buying groceries, only to notice something slightly different about a familiar dollar coin. Most discoveries ultimately prove ordinary, yet every experienced collector understands that remarkable treasures have occasionally emerged from the most unexpected places. That possibility fuels the excitement of the hobby because every coin carries its own journey through history, passing silently through countless hands before finally catching the attention of someone willing to look more closely. Responsible examination always separates careful collectors from impulsive speculation. Start by confirming the expected weight, since unusual differences can suggest either post-mint damage or an authentic minting error requiring further investigation. Observe the metal color for signs of unusual composition or environmental alteration. Inspect strike alignment to ensure both sides line up correctly. Study the rim shape for abnormalities such as broad strikes or incomplete formation, and carefully search the lettering, date, and design for genuine doubling rather than ordinary machine effects. Good lighting, moderate magnification, and patience are far more valuable than quick assumptions. And any coin showing potentially significant characteristics deserves professional authentication before conclusions about rarity or value are made. Professional grading services remain essential because condition often determines whether a coin is simply interesting or genuinely valuable. A brilliant uncirculated Susan B. Anthony dollar with sharp details, original mint luster, and verified authenticity will always inspire greater confidence than an uncertified example with uncertain characteristics. Experts evaluate countless factors invisible to casual observers, including microscopic surface preservation, strike quality, originality, and authenticity. Their independent opinions provide reassurance for buyers and sellers alike, protecting both the coin's history and the collector's investment while transforming uncertainty into documented confidence. Somewhere tonight, another 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar may still be hiding inside an overlooked collection, resting quietly in an old coffee can, tucked into a forgotten wallet, or waiting unnoticed in everyday pocket change, carrying secrets that only a careful observer will recognize. Perhaps it is an overlooked variety, an exceptional survivor, or a remarkable mint error destined to astonish the collecting world. Most coins will never reach extraordinary values, but every search keeps alive the thrilling possibility of a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that changes an ordinary day forever. And just when you think this remarkable dollar has revealed every secret it possesses, the next shocking American coin waiting in the shadows may tell an even more unbelievable story. The remarkable journey of the 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar continues to inspire collectors because every year brings fresh discoveries that reshape what people believe is possible. New die studies, improved grading standards, and growing collector interest occasionally uncover overlooked varieties that spent decades unnoticed in collections. That is why experienced numismatists rarely dismiss any coin without a careful inspection. A tiny difference in the rim, an unusual strike, a misplaced design element, or an authentic doubled inscription can transform what appears to be an ordinary dollar into a fascinating piece of minting history. While the overwhelming majority of these coins remain common, the excitement comes from knowing that genuine surprises still emerge, proving that patience, knowledge, and careful observation often reward those willing to look beyond the obvious. If you decide to search through your own coins, handle every Susan B. Anthony dollar with care by holding it only along the edges to avoid damaging its surfaces. Avoid cleaning or polishing a coin, even if it appears dull or stained, because cleaning almost always reduces collector value and can permanently alter important details. Compare the date, mint mark, lettering, and design with reliable reference images, and use a precise digital scale and magnification whenever possible. If you believe your coin displays an unusual characteristic, seek evaluation from a respected professional authentication and grading service before assuming it is rare or valuable. Careful documentation and expert verification are always more important than rumors or exaggerated claims found online. The greatest thrill of coin collecting has never been the promise of wealth alone, but the possibility that history is quietly waiting to be rediscovered in the most ordinary places. A forgotten coin tucked inside an old family collection, hidden in a piggy bank, or mixed with everyday pocket change could hold a story that has remained untold for nearly half a century. Whether your 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar turns out to be a simple keepsake or an extraordinary collectible, every search connects you with a remarkable chapter of American history. And if you think this iconic dollar has revealed all of its mysteries, wait until you see the next unbelievable coin whose hidden secrets have stunned even the most experienced collectors. Sond Coin 1979D Susan B. Anthony dollar, minted in Denver, arrived during one of the most ambitious changes in American coinage history, carrying the portrait of Susan B. Anthony, the pioneering leader who became the first real woman honored on a circulating United States coin instead of a symbolic figure. Produced in a copper-nickel-clad composition over a pure copper core, the coin measured just over 26 millimeters across, a size that unintentionally created one of the biggest challenges in modern American currency because it looked remarkably similar to the quarter. Yet behind that familiar appearance was a remarkable story of innovation, controversy, and determination. Millions entered circulation, many disappeared into drawers almost immediately, and countless Americans overlooked them for decades, never imagining that certain examples from the Denver Mint would someday capture the attention of passionate collectors searching for subtle details hidden within ordinary pocket change. Every feature of the 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar tells part of its story. The obverse presents Anthony's determined profile surrounded by the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1979, while the small d mint mark identifies its production at the Denver Mint. Flip the coin over and the reverse displays the majestic eagle descending toward the moon while clutching an olive branch, a design inspired by the Apollo 11 mission insignia. Around the rim appear United States of America, $1, and EPLURIBUS UNUM, combining the nation's space-age confidence with the legacy of one of America's greatest advocates for equal rights. Although millions were produced, collectors know that not every strike left the mint looking identical, and that realization transforms an ordinary-looking dollar into the beginning of a fascinating search. Denver's presses operated at tremendous speed during 1979, and with such enormous production came countless tiny differences from coin to coin. Some dollars received razor-sharp strikes that revealed every feather, hair strand, and letter with exceptional clarity, while others emerged with softer details caused by normal die wear or slightly reduced striking pressure. These subtle differences are often invisible to casual observers, but become incredibly important under magnification, where experienced collectors study each coin as though examining fingerprints left behind by the minting process itself. The more carefully a coin preserved those original details through decades of circulation, the greater its potential appeal within the numismatic community. The real excitement begins when conversations turn toward mint anomalies and collectible varieties. While the famous wide-rim variety belongs primarily to Philadelphia issues, Denver examples still reward careful inspection because unusual die polishing, strike misalignment, slight off-center strikes, doubled lettering, die chips, retained cuds, clipped planchets, and other legitimate mint-made anomalies occasionally appear. Most coins are completely normal, but every so often a collector discovers an unexpected characteristic that survived unnoticed for decades. That possibility fuels endless searches through coin jars, inherited collections, and forgotten bank rolls, where an overlooked Susan B. Anthony dollar could quietly wait for someone patient enough to recognize something extraordinary hiding in plain sight. Condition often becomes the deciding factor between an ordinary collectible and an exceptional prize. A 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar that escaped heavy circulation can retain brilliant mint luster, frosty surfaces, crisp rims, and sharply defined design elements that instantly distinguish it from heavily worn examples. Tiny contact marks, hairline scratches, dull fields, or worn high points may seem insignificant, yet professional grading can separate one mint-state coin from another by only the slightest differences. Those seemingly microscopic details create enormous excitement because collectors compete intensely for beautifully preserved examples, especially when original surfaces remain untouched after more than 4 decades. That brings the story to value, where imagination often meets reality. Illustrative market outcomes, never guarantees, show how dramatically rarity, preservation, and genuine mint characteristics can influence interest. A legitimate minor variation with meaningful collector demand might attract roughly $2,500 to $3,500 under favorable circumstances, while exceptional high-grade examples could approach around $5,000. An unusual authenticated mint anomaly might inspire offers near $6,000, and particularly desirable collector pieces could reach approximately $7,500. Exceptionally preserved or uncommon coins may sometimes be discussed around $8,000. Unusual finds with especially strong collector demand could approach $8,500, and extraordinary historically significant examples have occasionally inspired conversations approaching $9,000. Every one of these figures depends entirely on authentication, grading, market demand, and rarity, making them possibilities rather than promises. Imagine discovering a forgotten 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar inside an old family keepsake box, a dusty coffee can, or the bottom of a dresser drawer, only to realize it possesses characteristics worthy of professional attention. The emotional impact is difficult to describe because what first appears to be an ordinary dollar might suddenly represent the equivalent of a down payment on a home, an unexpected financial windfall, or the unforgettable thrill of a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. That possibility keeps collectors returning to estate sales, flea markets, antique stores, and inherited collections with hope that the next overlooked coin may rewrite its own remarkable story. Before imagining extraordinary outcomes, every collector should examine the coin responsibly and methodically. Verify that its weight closely matches official specifications. Observe the copper-colored core visible along the edge to confirm the expected clad construction. Inspect the overall metal color for anything unusual. Evaluate whether the strike alignment appears correct. Study the rim for abnormalities or genuine mint-made irregularities. And carefully inspect every letter and number for authentic doubling rather than ordinary wear or machine doubling. Lighting, magnification, patience, and comparison with verified examples can reveal remarkable details, but only professional authentication can confidently determine whether a suspicious feature represents a valuable mint characteristic or simply post-mint damage. Professional grading services play an essential role because appearances alone can easily mislead even experienced collectors. Environmental damage, cleaning, polishing, or accidental impacts sometimes imitate valuable mint errors. While genuine mint-made anomalies may initially seem ordinary to an untrained eye, certified authentication documents a coin's condition, confirms its originality, and gives buyers and sellers greater confidence during any transaction. That layer of expert evaluation transforms uncertainty into documented evidence, allowing remarkable coins to earn recognition based on objective standards rather than hopeful assumptions or exciting rumors. Somewhere tonight, another 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar may still be hiding inside loose change, tucked into an old wallet, resting unnoticed in a forgotten collection, or waiting quietly inside a bank roll that nobody has searched in years. Most will remain ordinary reminders of an important chapter in American coinage, but every collector knows that extraordinary treasures occasionally emerge from the most ordinary places when curiosity meets careful observation. The next coin you examine could hold a story nobody has uncovered for decades, and the shocking piece waiting in the next search may prove even more surprising than this remarkable dollar. 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar, minted in Denver, entered circulation during one of the most ambitious changes in modern American coinage, becoming part of the nation's first circulating dollar to feature the portrait of a real American woman rather than a symbolic figure. Susan B. Anthony's determined profile represented decades of dedication to women's rights, while the reverse displayed the famous Apollo 11-inspired eagle landing on the moon, linking American history with one of its greatest achievements in space exploration. Although hundreds of millions of these coins were struck, the Denver Mint produced examples with subtle differences in strike quality, surface preservation, and occasional mint-made anomalies that continue to fascinate collectors. Many people dismissed the coin because its size closely resembled a quarter, causing confusion in everyday transactions. But that same misunderstanding left countless examples forgotten in drawers, jars, and old collections, where they remain hidden today. What appears to be an ordinary dollar can become far more interesting once collectors begin studying every tiny detail under magnification. Collectors carefully inspect the 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar for crisp lettering, strong hair detail, complete feather definition on the eagle, clean rims, and brilliant original mint luster. While the famous wide rim variety belongs to Philadelphia issues, Denver coins can still display legitimate mint errors such as die chips, off-center strikes, doubled letters, retained cuds, clipped planchets, and other unusual production characteristics that make individual examples stand out. Condition also plays a huge role, because untouched mint-state coins with sharp strikes and minimal contact marks are significantly more desirable than heavily circulated pieces. Illustrative market outcomes, never guarantees, show how value can increase with rarity and preservation. Minor collectible variations might bring around $2,500 to $3,500. Exceptional high-grade examples could approach $5,000. Unusual authenticated mint anomalies may reach about $6,000. Rare collector pieces around $7,500. Exceptionally preserved examples approximately $8,000. Unusual finds with strong collector demand near $8,500. And extraordinary historically significant pieces have sometimes inspired discussions approaching $9,000, depending on grading, authenticity, rarity, and market demand. Before assuming any coin is valuable, examine it carefully and responsibly by checking its weight against official specifications, confirming the expected copper-colored edge of its clad composition, studying the strike alignment, inspecting the rim for genuine mint-made irregularities, and looking closely for authentic letter doubling rather than ordinary wear or machine doubling. Professional authentication and grading remain essential because cleaned, damaged, or altered coins can resemble valuable varieties, while genuine mint errors often appear surprisingly subtle. Imagine finding one of these overlooked dollars inside an inherited collection or an old coin jar, and realizing it could represent a sudden financial windfall or even contribute toward a down payment on a home if it proved to be an exceptional authenticated example. Most will remain ordinary collectibles, but every search carries the excitement that an extraordinary treasure could still be hiding in everyday places, and the next remarkable coin waiting to be discovered may be even more surprising than this one. People to overlook the remarkable stories hidden within its tiny metal surface. First introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the design eventually became a permanent part of American coinage, transforming an anniversary tribute into a symbol carried through generations. Designed with remarkable balance and precision, the coin represents both history and everyday commerce, passing through millions of hands while quietly preserving details that collectors study for years. Every scratch, every sharp edge, every brilliant luster pattern can reveal clues about where it traveled, how it was struck, and whether it might be far more unusual than anyone first imagined. That ordinary-looking quarter sitting in a jar or tucked into an old wallet could have survived decades with remarkable preservation, making it much more interesting than its face value suggests. The portrait of George Washington has evolved over the decades, but the calm expression, tied hair, and commanding profile continue to define one of the most iconic designs in American numismatics. On the reverse, different designs have appeared depending on the era, yet every version reflects careful engraving intended to withstand billions of transactions. Collectors often admire the sharpness of Washington's hair strands, the clarity of the inscriptions, the strength of the rim, and the crisp separation between raised devices and surrounding fields. Coins that retain their original mint brilliance without excessive contact marks immediately attract greater attention because they preserve the appearance intended by the engravers. Even subtle differences in the finish can completely change how collectors evaluate a seemingly common quarter, creating excitement where casual observers see nothing unusual. Production of Washington quarters has taken place at several United States mint facilities, each producing enormous quantities while maintaining incredibly tight manufacturing standards. Even with advanced equipment, no minting process is absolutely perfect, allowing occasional mistakes to escape quality control. Slight misalignments between dies, incomplete strikes, doubled lettering, die cracks, off-center impressions, clipped planchets, and retained cuds have all fascinated collectors over the years because they reveal the human and mechanical realities behind coin production. While millions of perfectly normal quarters entered circulation, only a tiny fraction displayed dramatic characteristics that transformed ordinary pocket change into highly desirable collectibles, proving that rarity often emerges from the smallest manufacturing differences. One of the greatest thrills in coin collecting comes from searching rolls of quarters, inherited collections, forgotten dresser drawers, or dusty containers that have remained untouched for decades. Most coins will be completely ordinary, yet that uncertainty is exactly what keeps collectors searching year after year. Every handful creates another opportunity to discover a sharply struck survivor, an overlooked mint error, or an exceptionally preserved example that somehow escaped heavy circulation. Stories continue to circulate about collectors finding remarkable quarters mixed among everyday coins, reminding everyone that patience, observation, and knowledge frequently matter more than luck alone. The excitement grows because nobody can predict when an ordinary afternoon might suddenly become the beginning of an unforgettable discovery. As attention turns toward value, Imagination naturally follows because collectors understand that condition, rarity, demand, certification, and eye appeal all influence the marketplace. Illustrative examples help demonstrate this wide range, although they never guarantee future prices. A minor variation or attractive collectible example might sometimes reach approximately $2,500 to $3,500 in favorable market conditions, surprising anyone who expected only 25 cents. For many families, that kind of unexpected value could resemble a meaningful contribution toward a down payment on a home, a long-awaited vacation, or an emergency fund built from something hiding in plain sight. It is precisely this possibility, however uncommon, that keeps collectors eagerly examining every quarter they encounter. The excitement becomes even greater when exceptional preservation enters the picture, because mint-state examples displaying original luster and minimal contact marks often command stronger interest. Under the right collecting circumstances, a beautiful high-grade coin might illustrate values around $5,000, while unusual mint anomalies with convincing documentation could illustrate approximately $6,000. Rare collector pieces displaying especially desirable combinations of quality, originality, and scarcity may illustrate around $7,500, creating the emotional impact of a sudden financial windfall discovered where almost nobody expected it. These figures remain examples rather than promises, yet they demonstrate why experienced collectors devote countless hours to careful examination instead of making quick assumptions. Occasionally, an especially impressive quarter displaying extraordinary preservation, remarkable eye appeal, or an uncommon production characteristic may attract even stronger competition among serious buyers. Illustrative market discussions sometimes describe exceptionally preserved or uncommon coins reaching around $8,000, while unusual finds supported by strong collector demand might illustrate approximately $8,500. In the most extraordinary circumstances involving historically significant examples or exceptionally desirable certified pieces, discussions sometimes reference figures approaching $9,000. Such outcomes are never guaranteed and depend on authentication, condition, rarity, timing, and buyer interest. But imagining a once-in-a-lifetime discovery hidden inside ordinary pocket change continues to inspire collectors around the world. Before assuming any quarter carries significant value, responsible examination is absolutely essential because many ordinary coins resemble rarer examples at first glance. Begin by checking the coin's weight with a precise digital scale, comparing it with official specifications for its composition and era. Observe the metal color carefully, looking for unusual layers, incorrect planchets, or unexpected surfaces that differ from normal copper-nickel-clad quarters. Study strike alignment by comparing both sides, inspect the rim for irregular thickness or distortion, and examine every letter using magnification to detect genuine doubling rather than simple machine vibration. Tiny details often separate ordinary circulation pieces from coins deserving closer professional attention. Professional authentication remains one of the most important steps for anyone who believes a quarter may possess unusual characteristics, because experienced grading specialists evaluate authenticity, preservation, originality, and market significance using established standards. Certified coins also provide greater confidence for buyers and sellers by reducing uncertainty surrounding condition and legitimacy. Instead of cleaning, polishing, or attempting home repairs, collectors should preserve the coin exactly as found because original surfaces frequently contribute to desirability. Even if the coin ultimately proves to be ordinary, careful handling protects its condition and encourages good collecting habits, while authentic discoveries receive the expert verification necessary to support their true place within the marketplace. Somewhere tonight, another United States quarter dollar featuring George Washington may be resting unnoticed inside a cash register, forgotten in an old jacket pocket, hidden in a family coin jar, or waiting quietly inside a bank roll, completely unaware that someone will soon decide to take a closer look. Most searches end with ordinary change, yet history has repeatedly shown that remarkable treasures sometimes appear in the least expected places, rewarding curiosity with unforgettable moments. That possibility continues to fuel the passion of collectors everywhere, because every ordinary quarter carries the faint whisper of extraordinary potential, and the next shocking coin waiting to rewrite everything you thought you knew may already be closer than you ever imagined. Second coin U.S. quarter dollar, featuring the obverse design of George Washington, has become one of the most recognizable coins ever produced in America. Yet familiarity often hides extraordinary stories beneath an ordinary appearance. George Washington's dignified portrait has watched generations of Americans spend, save, and collect these coins without realizing that tiny differences can separate a common 25-cent piece from a remarkable collectible. Every curve of the profile, every strand of hair, every sharply engraved letter, and every carefully formed date reflects decades of engraving tradition and mint craftsmanship. Millions of these quarters pass through cash registers, vending machines, and family piggy banks, creating the illusion that every example is identical. But experienced collectors know that subtle variations sometimes transform an everyday coin into a fascinating historical survivor. That possibility is exactly what keeps countless treasure hunters searching through loose change, with the hope that an overlooked quarter could tell a story no ordinary coin ever could. The history behind Washington's portrait carries far more significance than most people imagine, because it represents a lasting tribute to America's first president while reflecting changing eras of coin production. Every quarter bearing this famous obverse traveled through powerful minting presses that struck blank planchets with enormous force, yet no two production days unfolded exactly the same way. Tiny adjustments to dies, differences in striking pressure, and natural wear during manufacturing occasionally produced unusual characteristics that collectors spend years trying to locate. Even among billions of coins, a surprisingly small number display combinations of quality, preservation, and distinctive features that elevate them beyond everyday circulation, turning an overlooked pocket coin into an object worthy of careful study. At first glance, the Washington quarter appears simple, but closer inspection reveals an intricate world of artistry hidden in plain sight. The sharp contours of Washington's profile, the carefully balanced inscriptions, the crisp edge reading, and the symmetrical layout all reveal the precision expected from United States mint production. However, perfection is difficult to achieve across massive production runs, and that challenge creates opportunities for fascinating mint varieties. Slight shifts in alignment, unexpected die fatigue, or unusually strong strikes can produce coins with appearances noticeably different from ordinary examples. These subtle distinctions rarely attract attention from casual spenders, yet seasoned collectors often recognize them immediately because experience teaches that the smallest visual clue can sometimes lead to an extraordinary discovery. Collectors are especially fascinated by coins that escape the mint with unusual characteristics, because these pieces represent brief moments when normal production encountered something unexpected. A dramatic die crack, an off-center strike, an unusually broad rim, or visible letter doubling can transform a routine quarter into a conversation piece sought after by specialists. Even less dramatic differences, such as exceptionally sharp details or remarkable surface preservation, may generate significant collector interest when combined with low availability. The excitement comes not from fantasy, but from careful observation, patience, and knowledge, since genuine collectible varieties are identified through evidence rather than wishful thinking, making every examination feel like solving a historical mystery. As stories spread through the collecting community, the emotional appeal of the Washington quarter grows even stronger, because nearly everyone has handled one without realizing what might have slipped through their fingers. Imagine discovering that a coin resting unnoticed inside a kitchen drawer or forgot in an old coin jar possesses characteristics rarely seen by collectors. That possibility fuels late-night searches, weekend coin roll hunting, and family conversations passed from one generation to another. The dream is never simply about money. It is about uncovering a forgotten piece of American history that somehow survived decades of circulation before finally finding someone curious enough to look beyond its face value. This is where the storytelling becomes even more exciting, because values can vary dramatically depending on authenticity, rarity, preservation, and collector demand. Illustrative examples, not guarantees, show how certain minor but desirable variations might attract interest in the neighborhood of $2,500 to $3,500 under the right circumstances. High-grade examples with exceptional eye appeal have sometimes inspired comparisons around $5,000, while unusual mint anomalies may encourage discussions reaching approximately $6,000. Particularly scarce collector pieces can be imagined around $7,500, and exceptionally preserved or uncommon examples may be illustrated near $8,000. Unusual finds experiencing especially strong collector demand might be compared with figures around $8,500, while extraordinary or historically significant examples are sometimes illustrated at levels approaching $9,000, reminding everyone that every real coin must be evaluated individually by experts before assigning any value. Those illustrative numbers become even more powerful when viewed through everyday life, because a remarkable quarter could represent the equivalent of a meaningful down payment on a home, provide the excitement of a sudden financial windfall, or become the kind of once-in-a-lifetime discovery collectors dream about for decades. Yet the greatest reward often comes long before any sale occurs, since the thrill of identifying a genuinely unusual coin creates memories that remain long after auction headlines fade. Many collectors describe the moment of recognition as unforgettable, when an ordinary-looking quarter suddenly reveals details that separate it from millions of others, proving that remarkable discoveries often begin with nothing more than careful attention and genuine curiosity. Anyone examining a Washington quarter should approach the process responsibly, by studying measurable characteristics, rather than relying on rumors or exaggerated online claims. Compare the coin's weight against official specifications using an accurate digital scale, because unexpected differences may deserve further investigation. Observe the metal color for unusual appearances that could indicate planchet differences or environmental changes rather than assuming rarity. Inspect the strike alignment to see whether both sides are properly centered. Examine the rim shape for abnormalities such as broad or uneven edges, and carefully search for genuine letter doubling that appears as part of the strike instead of damage caused after circulation. These details together provide a much stronger foundation than excitement alone. Professional authentication remains one of the most important steps because experienced grading specialists possess the tools, references, and expertise needed to distinguish authentic mint varieties from ordinary wear, post-mint damage, cleaning, or alterations. Many coins that appear extraordinary under casual inspection ultimately prove common, while some modest-looking examples reveal remarkable characteristics only after careful professional examination. Patience, documentation, and objective evaluation protect both collectors and buyers, ensuring that excitement remains grounded in evidence rather than speculation. Responsible collecting preserves the integrity of the hobby while allowing truly exceptional Washington quarters to receive the recognition they deserve. Somewhere tonight, another U.S. quarter dollar featuring the obverse design of George Washington may be hiding inside a forgotten change jar, resting beneath a car seat, tucked into an inherited collection, or waiting silently in the next roll of bank-wrapped quarters. carrying secrets unnoticed for years until the right person finally takes a closer look. Perhaps the next incredible discovery will begin with nothing more than an ordinary glance at an ordinary coin, reminding us that history often disguises itself as pocket change. And if you think this famous quarter holds astonishing surprises, wait until you see the next shocking coin whose hidden story has stunned even experienced collectors and left the numismatic world asking how such an incredible treasure remained invisible for so long.